Well, welcome, my friends. I have another very exciting guest joining me on the show today. For those of you who don't know him, this is Martin Whiskin, a multi-talented, community-focused legend in his own field and other fields. Hey, Martin, how you doing?
Very good, thank you. I like to think of myself as a legend just standing in a field.
Hey, man.
That's where I belong.
Rooted in nature. I like that.
Yeah.
Just there. So you and I have known each other for a modest amount of time. But you all were brief in the grand scheme of things. But for people who don't know you, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Martin Whiskin. I think we've done that bit already, actually.
We have. We've done that bit.
Yeah, okay. You can edit that bit out. And yeah, my main job is voiceover artist. So I talk for a living. When I'm not talking for a living, I come on podcasts like this and talk a bit more, or go to networking events and talk a bit more. And my other bag is the Creative Collective Networking Group, which you're fully a member of, and it's called networking. The reason it has networking group on the end because there are other the creative collectives out there. We just had to differentiate it. But actually, we were speaking just before we came on, it's not a networking group. It's a community that has a bit of networking in it.
Mm. And it is all the better for that, I have to say.
Mm.
You have many threads and facets about the things that you do, the voiceovers. I know you're a musician as well, so maybe we're going to dive down that road as well at some point. How did you get started working for yourself, especially as a voiceover? But where did your creative journey begin on that front?
Going right back to the start, my creative journey, I think, began without me really realising. When I was 18, so I was in my last year at school, and there was a guy a couple of years below me who we used to go to gigs. He was in a band, and I used to watch his band. They were pretty good. And he, every now and then, would bring his acoustic guitar into school. And I thought, oh man, why didn't I ever learn that? I'm 18 now, is it too late? Because, I don't know. I guess it was I don't believe that sort of thing now. It's too late to learn new stuff at all. So at the age of 18, I bought my first guitar and started learning guitar. And for sort of 15, 20 years after that, that was my dream, was to do that all the time in front of people for loads of money, or for at least enough money to keep that existence going. Never quite got there. Let it go in the end. Didn't give it up, just let it go. But that was, I think, the first thing that really I'd ever done that wasn't just academic. It was writing music. And by being in bands, I started doing lots of other sort of creative things because I was in bands. So bands needed photography, so I did that. They needed posters, so I designed them. They needed websites, so I built the websites, all of that sort of stuff. But all that time, I never considered myself a creative person because I don't think it had ever been sort of suggested, this thing of creativity. But also just because I was full-time employed for that whole period that I was trying to become a famous musician. And it was only recently, it was after I became self-employed, doing a creative job, that someone said to me, you're literally a creative. You do it for a living. And that's when I needed that someone to tell me, and look at all that stuff you used to do, photography, design, music, all that. It's all creative stuff, but just because I'd never had it sort of framed, I think, I was just a normal person with a normal job who had hobbies. That's what I thought they were.
Mm.
And yeah, sorry, I'm picking up on the getting into voiceover. So I was made redundant from a job that I'd been doing for like nearly 20 years, and I thought there has to be something better than office life. I don't want to go straight back to that. And I've told this story loads of times on networking and things, and it was just bad luck turned into good luck. So I thought, oh great, redundancy, what do I do, sort of thing. Bad news. And I was just looking around at these skills that I'd built up outside of work to change my life, I guess. So photography, no, I'm not good enough to sell that at corporate level. Web design, not good enough to sell that at corporate level. Why don't I try something completely different? So I still had my recording gear from when we used to do demos in the bands, and I thought, oh, maybe I could record some acoustic acts or singers. So I started looking for new equipment. Facebook then started hitting me with adverts for more new equipment. But one advert that stood out was record your own voiceovers from home. And I thought, oh, okay, so I've got a home and a voice. Maybe if I put them two together, I could do something like that. And that was the first thing in a few months of living off of the redundancy money that had really made me think, oh, that's interesting. Mm. Everything else was just walking back into an office. There was... So yeah, I thought, why not? It's a challenge, it sounds fun, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I will reluctantly go back to the office. But I didn't have to.
Amazing. And here you are today.
Yeah. Still doing it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Touched on a few really interesting things there. About being labelled as a creative versus just being creative. I mean, did you ever have that when you were growing up? Like, people would just go to you, oh, you're really creative, you are. I wish I was like that.
No, and I've thought about this a lot since having, many discussions about creativity or being creative. And I was never what you would class as, for example, good at art at school. I think that's, completely subjective now. And music at school, when I started to get into that, although it was very late on, I was so into it. It was immediately my passion, sort of thing. But it wasn't encouraged. So there was no encouragement from the teachers, none from my family. Which isn't, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it was always, you leave school and you get a job, or you go to university and then get a better job. And I didn't go to university. The only thing actually that made me want to go to university was my sister. When she first came back after her first term, she said, oh, when I got there was all these signs on doors saying, do you want to join a band? And that's the only reason that I had been tempted to go to university. But then I got in a band back at home, didn't go to university. Mm.
So, in a way, it was entirely motivated by you. In fact, not even in a way. If the encouragement was, do the education, get a job. Your drive was internal, right?
Yeah, I think it's looking back at that, like you say, the drive to create music, perform it, make it as a musician was so strong for so many years, even though ultimately I didn't really get anywhere. Minor successes here and there, but overall came to nothing. But that put me in such good stead to run a business. I always looked at it just as a hobby, but I learned so much in those years, dealing with promoters, venues, other bands, finances. It was like having a job being in a band. Yeah. But yeah, I was having a conversation with a client of mine. He's like, all that stuff that you did whilst you was in bands, you're doing a lot of it now with your clients and your accounts and all that sort of thing. And it made me, like, I had the conversation with my mum and dad afterwards, and it's just like, it wasn't a waste of time doing all that music. And I would do it all again if I could. All of that away at the weekend, every weekend playing, rehearsing 2 or 3 times a week. It was such a good life experience and really sort of formed me as a person, I guess. I saw myself more as this person in a band than I did as an employee, because I just wasn't interested in, not that I wasn't interested in working, but I was not interested in the work, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Capital TW, the work.
Yeah.
I think that's a sentiment that a lot of people in boats similar to you and I think they will feel that deeply, you know. They want to work, but they want to do it in their way, on their terms. So what did the experience then of being in the band, what did that teach you? What did that give you?
Aside from all of the more practical stuff, like dealing with people from all different walks of life, difficult situations, because I always sort of moved myself into I don't want to say the leader of the band, but like I guess the project manager. So I always made sure everything was running. Aside from all that sort of stuff, I think the drive, that word again, to not give up on something that you want to make happen. I was trying it for nearly 2 decades, you know, to get into music as a career. And that has, I'm sure, in some way helped me in business. Don't give up after the 6 months if you're not making any money. Don't give up after a year. Just keep going, and it'll work.
Yeah.
It worked for my business. It didn't work for the bands I was in. But it helped now, which is amazing. So grateful for those times spent, you know, seemingly for pennies, driving up and down the motorways late at night, being, you know, knackered at work for the rest of the week, just to pursue the dream. And it's very much like that now well, not so much now because, you know, I've built my business, but when I first started working all the hours, keep going, you know, until it clicks, until it works.
Yeah. So what's the dream now?
The dream now is an interesting question, because I think it always, I'm not one for a dream now. I think it's a thing that can change and morph over time depending on where you are. So I'm happy in my family, I'm happy in my work. There's goals, I think, which actually quite a lot of them are related to the Creative Collective. Just to keep that growing, seeing where it goes. You know, I think there's going to come a point where me and Ben have to have a discussion, and probably with the rest of the group, what to do when we get to a certain amount of members, because it will get too busy for a fortnightly. It might get too big for what it is now. So we either have to cap it at membership, or I don't know. You know, that's a discussion for another time. But I think for the group just to continue providing for its members, it's such a nice thing to see people helping each other, and we don't even have to really do anything now. We just watch and it happens. Sorry, I was sidetracked there off of the dream thing, but I'm like, you could probably tell the way I talk about it. I'm really, really passionate about the Creative Collective. I love it. You know, it's just such an incredible thing to be part of. In terms of my voiceover, I do have, is it a dream or is it a goal? I'll say what it is, and then we'll see what it feels like. It's to be respected as a a voiceover artist in terms of there's different levels of people in all types of business. So you'll get beginners, intermediates, the experts or legends, depending on skill and how long they've been doing it. But in voiceover, there's names that everybody knows. Oh, do you know? Yeah, I know him. He does this, that, and the other. He's always done this. I want to become one of them. That people, and not in an arrogant or sort of big-headed way, but it's something that I would feel like my business had been a success if I got to that level. I'm doing fine now, and I don't know, maybe it's from the performance side of things, from my band life. I wanted to be talked about as a band, and now I want to be talked about as a different kind of performer.
It's very resonant as a concept. I think for people, especially your performer, is a good word to pick on there. Is it maybe then for? To me, it sounds like it goes beyond recognition. Because you can be recognised for doing good work. But the only word that I've got in my head at the moment is revered, but that to me has a very particular connotation that probably isn't where somebody like yourself would want to be, because it kind of puts you in that godlike status that then everyone goes, oh, it's that person, and then they just turn out to be a dick and it's no good. And
everyone knows that about me anyway now.
hey, we're not, let's just keep it friendly. It's fine. No, I think, and I wonder about this for a lot of people, with that they want to reach a certain tier of awareness in their own community. I mean, what would that do for you, do you think, if you were to hit that echelon of Martin does this stuff?
I don't even really know. It was just at the end of last year, I was setting my sort of targets for the year, and I certainly don't expect that to happen within 12 months. That sort of that growth into that sort of level. But I got it in my head that's what I wanted to happen.
Awesome.
But what I certainly don't want to happen, it kind of, you're right, there's that word revered. I don't want to become that. I don't want to become aloof. I don't want to move away from any of the communities that I'm in. I just don't want to be another voiceover artist with, and that makes it sound negative towards the other voiceover artists that I know, but it's not intended that way. I just want to be more successful than I am, if it's to be broken down in simple terms. Oh, this has got me thinking now.
I'm gonna just do a kind of a yes and on that. It isn't just that, and I fully respect that, when we talk about these things in terms of our industries and our peers, by saying, oh, I want to do more, I want to be more X, Y, and Z, it can sound like we are throwing disparaging remarks in the direction of our colleagues. But it isn't, because the thing that you want is for you. It's okay to want that. Like, it doesn't say that anyone else is doing less or is any less good at what they do, but you see yourself in a position, and I'm speaking to me as well as in this, and other coaches, other designers, other musicians, whoever. You see yourself in a particular position where people can come to you for something you're known for, and you can kind of own that space in a honest, I use the word authentic, I roll my eyes, this is an audio medium, but I have just rolled my eyes because I don't like that word, in an honest, authentic way.
Yeah, and it's not that I don't want that for other people as well. A couple of other voiceover groups just small sort of I don't know what you'd call them. We meet once a month, and if we all move to that level, it'd be phenomenal. If someone else moved to it but not me, phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm in, although yes, we're all voiceover artists vying for the voice jobs out there. We're not enemies. We're all doing it. We're all just trying to make it in business. That's all it is. So yeah, thank you. I want to do that for a personal sense of achievement, I guess.
There you go. That's the thing, isn't it? It's you start out in a business, because this isn't a hobby. You can be very good at it, and it still be a hobby, but this is your business, and you want to see it succeed. I'm going to just go a little left field, pick up on something you said before about you used the word normal in terms of work, and I think that's a really interesting one to pick up on. It's like when we have normal jobs, or when we do normal things, do you think there is... Oh, that was going to head down kind of a newsreadery Channel 4 pointy question road there. We don't want that. I mean, what is it then about the world of creative work which is maybe normal?
There's a few things, I think. So I'm going to say normal. I'm going to try and redefine that. The more... the jobs that there's more of them, the same type of job for lots of people. So I would say there's more people that work in data, which is what I used to do, than are voice actors. So the kind of jobs that you're expected to get when you leave school or university, or at least most people will push towards the academic type stuff. And can you remind me of the question? Sorry, I spoke too long and it
No,
slipped
that's
my mind.
okay. I think we were touching on the sentiment of normality. Maybe how far off that path creative work goes.
Yes. So in terms of like what I do, for example, what I did in data was the same every day.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same thing certainly the same tasks. It might have been for different clients, different specifications, but it was the same processes. But I think with a lot of creative sectors or jobs in the sector, days are just so different. So just as an example, this morning I did 20 telephone messages for a fencing company, the Glamour, for 4 or 5 of their branches, so my voice will be on all their telephones around the southeast. Yesterday I was doing some e-learning stuff for a European English language school, so my voice teaching Europeans how to speak English. Don't know if that's the right choice or not, to have my voice, the commoner from Kent. And the day before that, radio ads. So every day is serving up a different challenge, and it's going down to running your own business. I've never run my own business before. There's always something being fired at you, whether it's marketing, social media, bit of networking, someone hasn't paid my invoices. There's always something different to do. And I think you wear so many different hats, you do so many different roles until you get to a point where you can hire a massive team, which would be amazing. Actually, maybe that's my dream, to have 15 people working for me as a voiceover artist. That'd be incredible. But yeah, I think it's just the variety, I think, is for me. I couldn't go back to something where it's just, this is what you do every day, that's your job. I need that, the challenges, the changes, and I think fulfillment is the word. I've never been fulfilled in work until going freelance.
I feel that. I feel that. Did you realise that that was a thing until you went and worked for yourself?
I think I just accepted that as my existence. And probably didn't even realise I was accepting that as my existence whilst it was happening. I just was. I had a job, and I had a very, very intense hobby that I wanted to turn into a job. There's a lot of things that I think I didn't realise were happening at the time that I look back now and think, oh, okay. And, being stuck in a... Not stuck, but you become... you accept that position, I think. Or a lot of people do. I certainly thought, well, I'm getting paid every month. What else could I want? And until it was kind of forced upon me with the redundancy from that career, it gave me time and space to reevaluate, I guess, and start that proper realization journey, of maybe these things I enjoy doing, maybe I could make money from them and not have to line someone else's pockets all the time. It's harder, doing it by yourself, but it's so much more rewarding.
Yeah. I don't think you realise how easy it becomes to do the hard work as well. Because it's not easy. Everyone says to when I coach people, maybe or have conversations with people about going into freelance work or into I would say everyone is self-employed and you're all running a business. However you label yourself. But if you want to go into that, it is hard, but it becomes so easy to do that hard work because it's your hard work.
Yeah, and also don't really have a choice. No one else is going to do it for you.
Truth. You don't. In the bed which you have made, no, you don't have a choice. You have a choice not to do it, but to make it gather momentum and move in the direction you would like it to. No, you think spot on there. You don't have a choice. You tie your sneaks on and hit the ground one foot after the other. I've got a question. It's half formed. It is half formed around what community does for you as a creative person. So I think that might just be the question, actually. What does community do for you as a creative person?
I think... Wow, that's an awesome question. On a very selfish level, it kind of allows me to pursue projects easier because now I know people that could do stuff with.
Yeah.
Before I would have these stupid ideas, not stupid, but out of the box ideas for all different kinds of things. And even going back to when I was employed, I didn't know anybody to actually realise these ideas for things. So I'd always fall back to the music to scratch that itch. But now if I have an idea, I think, well, who do I know that might be up for buddying up to try and make this happen? And I've done stuff since being in the community. Last year there was it was Mental Health Awareness Week. We made this. I say we. There was 16 of us, I think, in the end, all got together for this project. Originally, it was going to be, I think, 4 or 5 voice artists just reading this piece about mental health. And then we thought, but who's going to write that? Because we're not writers. So we asked a writer to get involved. And he said, well, how are you going to get this out there? And then we thought, well, actually on LinkedIn, audio doesn't really work just by itself. So perhaps we need to ask someone to make a video. and the way the script was formed, there was like 11 or 12 characters in there, so it just grew and grew and grew. And I think out of the 16 or 17 people that it was that I asked if they would like to be involved in this project, it was unpaid, it was just an idea that I had, and to raise awareness for mental health. Only one person said they didn't have time for it, but everyone else was just like, yeah, straight away. And that's the thing. It's, you can rely. The community is there when you need them, and it's there when you don't need them as well. And it's that, I guess it's a security and safety thing as well. You don't even have to think about it. It just is.
It just is. Do you feel that you've managed to sort of make it happen, to just be? Or is it really... I use the word magical because, I mean, both you and I know that the power of community can be magical. But have you created it, or have you osmosed?
Oh, in terms of personally,
I'm going to say yes, because I think that creative work and being a creative person and all those things, yeah, it's deeply personal. So yeah,
I think it's something that when I was, all the time I was in bands, and actually this is something I literally just thought about. I was in a community of local bands and local musicians. We would see each other at all the local venues all the time, playing the same shows, going to see the same bands. But never really thought of it other than it's just maybe, yeah, and that's just what we did. We were just in there, in that community, just being in there. So I think you don't really have to analyse it too much about being in a community. It just is, and it's there.
Yeah.
And you become part of it kind of organically, I think. So when I first started my business, I knew nobody other than the people that I used to work with, and they worked in direct marketing, so it wasn't anything that really could help me at the beginning. But it took me a while to sort of realise that I can't be alone, and I can't just do it all by myself. I didn't want to talk to any other voiceover artists because I thought, well, they've got voices as well. That's my work. But yeah, gradually you just become a part of things. Well, you have to, you do really have to become part of things. Or it'll be a very lonely and difficult journey.
It's a good word, difficult. I think we said before that it can be easy to do the hard work when you start, but doing it by yourself, that makes the road way more difficult. Way more difficult. For the sake of consistency, I do like to ask one sort of big-ish question. You've alluded to a whole load of different things about your path into the creative world where you exist today. But, I mean, since you began your self-employed journey, what's the biggest myth or like misunderstanding that you've broken down for yourself about working for yourself?
Let's think about that. I think there's probably one just touched on it just now about because I came from a corporate background where it was our company against all the other companies that did the same thing. If a project came up, we would all pitch for it, and whoever got it. Then you move on to the next one if you didn't get it. I brought that into freelancing right at the beginning. I just said I didn't want to talk to any other voiceover artists because I thought, well, they're all pitching for the same jobs. And I don't know how many people do that at the beginning of their voiceover careers, but don't ignore all other voiceover artists, because I know loads now, and on the whole they're a good bunch. And it's a much nicer existence to be able to ask their advice on things, to get referred work as well. I've given other I'm not a female. If someone comes to me and says, oh, do you know a female voiceover artist? I can't do that voice. Yeah. But I know people who can, and why wouldn't you help people, So that's one thing I think, is you can't do it all yourself.
Yeah.
And the other, in terms of, I'm trying to think of one in terms of, the actual doing of voiceover. I'm going to be brutal and blunt.
Please.
You can't. And this came out of lots of conversations I had around sort of the end of lockdown with people, and the common phrase was, I've bought a microphone, I'm a voiceover artist now. And it's not as easy as that. And actually that's something that crops up a lot in creative roles, is, why are you so expensive? It's just, for a photographer, for example, why are you so expensive? You're just clicking buttons. Well, you do it then, and then show me what you can do with those buttons, and then come back to me when you're not happy. So I think saying things like anyone can do it does a disservice. Yes, anyone can do it, but that doesn't mean you can do it immediately. There's a path, learning, experience. Oh, are we ending on a negative?
No, we're not at all. I think that's a very astute point to make, is that, you can't, with the best will in the world, just rock up and say, I am this. You could, and I'm not going to do a disservice to any manifestation-based coaches out there, but you can't just manifest yourself into something. You have to practice. You have to surround yourself with the community who can lift you up, who can teach you how to do it well, so you can become part of that community and also do it well. It isn't about competing just to get into it, is it?
No. There's so much more to being a business.
Yeah.
It's, I was trying to think of something really profound to say there. But I'm a strong believer that the person sits in front of the business as well. You're talking, we're just having a chat, right? But that I do voiceover, but we're not really we're just having a chat. And I know what you do. And I think that's really, really important, because I'd much rather know that I get on with someone and then thinking, well, I could easily work with that person, than them just saying to me, I do this, I do that. They're not letting me in. I can't get a gauge of that person if they just talk business to me all the time. Not interested in that. I want to find out what crisp sandwich is their favourite, that sort of thing. So what is your favourite crisp sandwich, by the way?
That's a very good question. You got there before me. I am a fan of Walker's Other Brands Are Available cheese and onion on just inexpensive white bread. A little bit of butter, done.
Yeah.
How about you?
Nearly the same, I think. I used to be partial to a Wotsits sandwich because it was a very interesting texture. But spot on with the white bread, butter. But now I think Walker's cheese and onion are my favourite cheese and onion.
Yeah,
I think they're just absolutely the king of cheese and onion. Prawn cocktail Walkers, maybe, in a sandwich, I think.
You and my daughter would get on well. That's her favourite as well.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, she's a prawn cocktail fan.
Oh, yeah.
Which does cause divisions around the dinner table when there's only 3 packets of prawn cocktail left in the box, not 4.
I've just got an image now of you serving dinner and it's just a packet of prawn cocktail crisps on a plate. I love that.
So what time are you coming round, Martin?
Yeah, well, I'm on my way, mate, definitely.
Oh, amazing. We've touched on a veritable feast of ideas here, and I think there is a lot more to be discussed at a later date, because we haven't even really dove into the creative collective and what that is.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to be in for a part 2 if you're up for it.
Oh, absolutely. I've really enjoyed myself. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And I feel very relaxed now.
Good. When people would like to come and work with you for what you do, as a voiceover artist or as a community wrangler, builder, creative in general, where can people find you?
Search my name. I think I'm the only Martin Whiskin in the world. It was just not a very common surname, that's why. So just type that into Google, Martin Whiskin. It's Whiskin, and my website will come up, and you can contact me there.
Tremendous. Well, Martin, thank you for hanging out, sharing some stories, and we'll talk again very soon.
Yes, well, take care.